Hey Giants fans and football fans, welcome to the Giants Grit, your YouTube channel with views and reviews of the New York Football Giants without all the unnecessary theatrics. Alright folks, season's been over for about a week and a half. Not that much news with the Giants themselves other than they're keeping their GM and head coach Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll respectively. I'm very unhappy with that situation, but it is what it is. It's there. They did fire their DB coach, Jerome Henderson, which didn't make sense because he was one of their best coaches, and they were even propping him up last year about how he's a head coaching candidate, and certainly a defensive coordinator candidate. So, yeah, weird. It's like they're scapegoating the wrong people, but we got to see what they do in free agency and the draft. And this video is about the draft. This is how I think they should do the draft. Is the draft started today. Obviously the rankings of these players will go up and down depending on how things go at the Senior Bowls, at the Combine, and personal interviews and pro days at the universities. But as of today, which is January 16th, the Giants, I think, let's go by needs. I think their needs, as you can see on the screenshot there, quarterback, of course. I think they should take quarterback as the biggest need by far. I think they got to do both. I think they got a draft choice, not necessarily with their first pick, especially since we don't have the first pick, we have the third. Quarterback is the biggest need in the draft and in free agency. Defensive tackle, they need someone to start next to Dexter Lawrence. I think they're going to get that in free agency, but nonetheless, I think they got to draft one very high. I can't imagine them. They may even use their first pick. Mason Graham is an excellent prospect. Maybe they trade down. I don't know. They could possibly take him at 3. I don't think they would do that, but I wouldn't be mad at it. So defensive tackle, the second biggest need. Third biggest need, I think, is for a number 1 corner. It wasn't when I did my mock draft in the mid-season, but with the horrible season that Deonte Banks had, I mean, he doesn't look like he could be a number 1 corner, and I'm not confident in it, and I don't think many Giant fans are either. He's the number 2 corner, and I think we should. Now, I'm not saying give up on him, but you don't give up on talent that soon, but you can't hope for it anymore. So they need a number 1 corner. I think they might sign one in free agency as well. He may not be a number 1 corner. I only expect the Giants to sign maybe one big splash, first tier free agency signing, but nonetheless, I think they're going to draft a corner high. And with their second or third pick, maybe even their first pick, depending. There are 2 blue chip guys in Travis Hunter and Will Johnson. So we'll see. Now, their 4th highest need, I believe, is an offensive tackle. I mean, they have their starters in Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminaire. And there's still hopes that Evan Neal will live up to be, well, he's not going to live up to be a top pick that he was a couple of years ago or back in 2022. But hopefully he'll salvage his Giant career and can, at the worst, be a swing tackle, the first backup tackle. But we want to get someone to challenge him at that. And the last most important need, I think, is a wide receiver too. I think Darius Slayton's going to sign somewhere else. I'm hoping they sign someone in free agency to be a number 2 wide receiver, but resources might be going to the aforementioned other areas. So wide receiver is definitely a need, I think. Not as big as the other one, but it's right up there. And then as far as the rest are depth positions, as you can see, I think Jake Kubas has showed that, he's a prospect at guard, and it's kind of nice. So I feel like it kind of lowered the priority on getting a guard this offseason. Especially in the draft, they could use a mid or late season pick. I think they'll open up the season with John Runyon at one spot, and I think Kubas takes the other spot. And then I think, they'll still have, they may sign Greg Van Rooten and Aaron Stinney, but they may get a lower tier. I'm sure they'll sign a lower tier free agent for a guard position for depth or maybe even a starter. And then, of course, they need a third edge. Azeez Ojulari, I'm pretty sure, is going to walk in free agency. You want someone behind Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. Could they draft Abdul Carter at number 3? Possible. He's one of the better players in the whole draft. And then tight end depth. I don't expect them to sign Chris Manhertz, their third tight end, just a blocker. However, I think they got to get someone in the pipeline, because Bellinger, I think, is going to be in his last year. He's backing up the starter, Theo Johnson. And it's a pretty strong tight end class. There's good depth in there, so I'd like to see them hit that spot. And the final spot I think they got to hit is running back. It's been said this is one of the best running back drafts ever. It's so deep. You could really get a good running back in the mid and later rounds, and I totally expect the Giants to do that, just like they did last draft with Tyrone Tracy in the 5th round. I'd love to see them from the 4th round on down is to hit this running back, get a pick, particularly a power back. I'd love to see them get some for short yardage to complement Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary next year. So, well, those are the needs that I feel that should be hit. Obviously, you draft players and not positions, but all teams draft for needs, regardless of what they say it. And you kind of, the salary cap kind of dictates that. But you want to have that perfect match of need and value. It doesn't always work that way, but teams trying to make it close. So hopefully, and the Giants really need to do that. They can't be drafting too much by needs. They really do have to start taking best players available. That's what free agency is for, is to draft players, is to sign free agents for your needs, to fill in your needs, and then you draft for the future to keep the pipeline full of talent and developing talent. Unfortunately, bad teams like the Giants, they need those young players right away to come in and make an impact. So hopefully the first couple of picks will be able to do that for the Giants. So, but enough with that. Let's get straight to my mock draft. With the first pick of the NFL draft, number 3 overall, the New York Giants select Travis Hunter, cornerback / wide receiver of the University of Colorado. Yes, Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, the best player in the draft, regardless of position. He's one of the best college players I've ever seen, and I've been watching college football for over 40 years. And he's a great wide receiver, and he's a great corner. He'd be the number 1 corner. I think Will Johnson of Michigan is the second best corner, and he's definitely second best in everything to him. Even if he didn't play wide receiver, he'd still be the number 1 corner in this draft by far. I think he's got that Champ Bailey, Deion Sanders even, yes, his coach. Maybe a little bit of Patrick Surtain in there. He's such an excellent prospect, and his ball skills are elite, as in the best ball skills I've seen from a corner since Champ Bailey. And as far as wide receiver, he's an excellent wide receiver in itself. I actually think he's better than T-Max of University of Arizona, who's the number 1 wide receiver prospect. He may even want to play wide receiver. He said he'll play whichever position his team that selects him. I think if the Giants took him, I think they'd play him at corner with some wide receiver packages. That, I think, would be the general census. I think most teams will think that way. I wouldn't mind keeping that wide receiver number 1 and let him play just a few defensive packages. That's how good he is at wide receiver, I think. So, and the Giants just need so much offense, and it'd be nice, any quarterback that comes in, to have. Plus, we're going to be most likely losing Darius Slayton, and who knows with Jalen Hyatt. So, yeah, please, Travis Hunter, cornerback, wide receiver of Colorado. And now, moving on to their second pick. With their second pick in the 2nd round of the 2025 New York Giants, select Quinn Ewers, quarterback, University of Texas. Yes, Quinn Ewers, or Ewers. Sorry, Quinn. Anyway, he's an underrated prospect, I think, at quarterback. The Giants don't have a chance at Cam Ward. I don't think they'll have a chance at Shadir Sanders, nor with Jalen Milroe, nor with Jackson Dart of Ole Miss. The aforementioned Milroe and Dart, I think, are going to be drafted in the first round. Some websites and mock draft sites have them as second rounders, but quarterbacks are overvalued. Last year, a lot of people said, oh, Pennox or Bo Nix could possibly last to the second round. I don't think that's happening. I expect both of them to go by mid-round. The guy who actually drops, I think, is Quinn Ewers, and he's actually become an underrated prospect. He's got a good arm, a good enough arm. I think he's very accurate. I think he's got great touch. I think he throws his receivers open. I think he's excellent in the intermediate and short passing. I think he leads his receivers very well. He's got just enough size at 6'2". He's like 210. Obviously, he'll get bigger as he gets in the NFL. Now, his mobility is not very good, but I don't think he's the statue that a lot of the draftniks say he is. And I think that whole with Arch Manning behind him at Texas, and that he's just keeping the position warm, I think is wrong. I think he's a very good college quarterback in his own right. He was, I believe, 21-5 in his 2 years of playing for Texas. So right now, he's a better quarterback than Arch Manning. Will he be in the NFL? That remains to be seen. But again, overall, I think he's a good prospect. I think in the second round, the Giants would be fortunate enough to get him here, and he will immediately improve the quarterback room. As a matter of fact, depending on who they sign in free agency, there's a good chance he'll start. If not, I think he'll start by mid-season at worst. Decent arm, can make most of the throws. Now, he's not going to be a Patrick Mahomes type that can, improv and escape from the pocket, and everyone nowadays wants the great athlete at quarterback. He's not that, but I think he could be a good precision passer, almost a Chad Pennington, if you will. That's the best comparison I have for him. Maybe even a poor man's Phillip Rivers. That would, I think, be his ceiling. His floor, I think, would be kind of maybe a poor man's Chad Pennington of the Jets many years ago. So Quinn Ewers of Texas is their second round pick. Now, moving on to the third round, with the third pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Ty Robinson, defensive tackle of Nebraska. Well, Ty Robinson of Nebraska, of course, the Giants have a huge opening, as I said, next to Dexter Lawrence. They need a starter. I think they'll get it in free agency. However, I think it is a good defensive tackle draft. I think there'll be solid prospects at the top of the third round, and they do have the first pick in the third round. It's the 65th pick. Ty Robinson, he's 6'6", about 310. He's huge. He has surprising quickness for such a big guy. He had 12 tackles for losses and 7 sacks in this past college football season. Again, strong, big, tall, experienced, 5 years playing for the Cornhuskers. He bull rushes pretty well, gets his hands up there, and he's a big problem for interior offensive linemen to block him. Now, his weaknesses are that height gives him some poor leverage. A lot of offensive linemen can get under him. His lateral quickness is not that great. He looks a little wild, too, with his hands and doesn't seem to have a plan with his pass rush, even though he had a lot of sacks this year. But nonetheless, I think he'll be a problem. I expect him to be in the rotation right away if the Giants are fortunate enough to get him with this pick. Ty Robinson of Nebraska. I think the Giants would be very fortunate to get him in the third round, and I think that's about where he's going to fall. Now, moving on to the fourth round. With the fourth round, the New York Giants select Anthony Belton, offensive tackle, North Carolina State. Now, Anthony Belton, he replaced Ike Ekwonu during the 2022 season, so he's got lots of experience at left tackle. I think he could play right tackle for the Giants. He's an excellent run blocker. He's a solid pass blocker. Again, lots of experience, great size, great power, and he'd almost be a steal coming down here, but it's also a strong tackle draft. So I think a guy like this normally would go maybe low second and into the third round. But because of all the depth at the position, I think the Giants will luck out and get someone like him at the top of the fourth round. Now, I expect him right away. Obviously, he's not going to start right away for the Giants. However, he'll be able to back up the starting tackles, Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminere, and challenge Evan Neal for that third tackle spot. So there's a danger that Evan Neal may not make the team. I think he will, but it's nice to see. Let's get someone in there to challenge him, because Evan Neal is not playing like the 7th pick of his draft class. So the Giants actually have 2 picks in the 4th round, a compensatory pick. So still in the 4th round, the New York Giants select Billy Bowman, safety out of Oklahoma. That's right, Billy Bowman. He's a playmaker at safety for the Oklahoma Sooners. He has elite ball skills, so I think he'd fit in really nicely at safety. I don't expect the Giants to re-sign safety Jason Pinnock, but I think if they get someone like Bowman, he can back up Dane Belton for a little while and then possibly take over, let's say mid-season, or at the very worst, he'll be some depth and possibly take over his second season. Again, he's got elite ball skills for a safety. He has 3 pick sixes in his college career. He's a playmaker. Nice size, nice speed, good quickness. He's versatile. He plays safety, and he can even play some nickel corner. I don't necessarily think he can do that at the NFL level, maybe on a limited basis, but it's nice to know that he does have the footwork and the quicks and the hips to play that occasionally if needed. Now, as far as the downside and why he lasted this long into the 4th round is because of his size. He's only 5'10", 200 pounds. That's more cornerback size than safety size. However, he is tough. He is aggressive in run support, and I think he'd be a great fit for the Giants. I think he's schematically diverse. I think he could play zone. He could play man. He can man up on some tight ends. Now, that size, especially the height at only 5'10", will hurt him against big, strong, tall tight ends. It also hurt him against going up against wide receivers and tight ends on contested jump balls. But again, the ball skills are excellent, and the quickness and body control is excellent too. And again, I think the Giants would be very fortunate to get a player of Billy Bowman's caliber in their pipeline. Now, moving on to the 5th round, the New York Giants select Jarrod Wilson, offensive center / offensive guard of Georgia University. Yep, we got a Bulldog on the Giants, and that'd be great. He's actually a very good center prospect. Jarrod Wilson has good size, not great size. He's very athletic. He can pass block very well. He's got good lateral movement, and he's got excellent mobility on run blocking. Now, why does he fall to the 5th round? He's not that experienced. Some people might think that he maybe is limited to just the center position, but I think he can play guard. I think the Giants will test him out there. He's a versatile athlete. He was not only a offensive lineman in high school, but he was also a linebacker. He was actually an excellent linebacker as a high school kid. But I think he lasts this long again because he's slightly undersized. He's only 6'3", 310. He's almost like, you could almost say he's almost like JMS without the experience. However, his movement skills are even better, so that's why I think he could possibly get moved to guard. This year, obviously, I don't think he'll start, but I think he could back up JMS at center and challenge for a guard spot. And at worst, I actually think he'll back up both spots, and the Giants can figure out where they like him best. So, Jarrod Wilson, interior offensive lineman from the Georgia Bulldogs. The Giants hopefully get him in the 5th round with the 153rd pick. Now the Giants don't have a 6th-round pick. They traded that pick when they swapped it for their 6th-round pick for a 7th-round pick to the Bills right before the 2023 NFL season for Boogie Basham. Yeah, that didn't work out too great. But nonetheless, let's go with the 7th pick of the NFL draft. The New York Giants select Elijah Arroyo, tight end, Miami. Yes, another tight end from the University of Miami. Arroyo, he's basically kind of your prototype wide tight end. He's got a size, the speed, the height, the length of almost a prototype tight end. However, he is more of a move tight end. He's versatile in that he may have the body to be a wide tight end. However, he's going to be more. Arroyo's got great hands, good speed. He's a natural receiver, and he gets nice yak. As a matter of fact, if he gets on the Giants, he'd be the best tight end as far as yak ability. Theo Johnson was doing some Mark Bavaro imitations later in the year, but this guy's got the vision. He doesn't quite have the power that Theo Johnson has, and obviously not the blocking prowess of it. But yeah, his yak ability is really nice, and he can be a weapon right away on the Giants in some packages. Why does he last this long? Is he a 7th-round pick player? Does he belong in the 7th round? Absolutely not. I think he's anywhere from a 2nd round to 3rd rounder under normal conditions, but the reason he drops is he's missed almost 2 full seasons of his college career due to injuries. So limited stats and production. This is the only year where he really got good stats up there. So between the limited health and the limited production, he drops. And of course, he's not much of a blocker. He's got the body for it, but he needs the technique, he needs the experience. But in some packages, you can put him in line there. He certainly looks the part. So, if the Giants can ramp him up, maybe by mid or late season, he could at least be a somewhat functional blocker. So yeah, Elijah Arroyo, I'd love to have him on the Giants. If he drops to the 7th round, he'd immediately be the Giants' 3rd tight end and possibly take over as their 2nd tight end because I don't expect them to re-sign Daniel Bellinger next year. He'll be in his 4th and last year on the team, of the 4th year of his contract, and I don't expect them to re-sign him as moving forward. I'm pretty sure Theo Johnson's the answer as starting tight end. Now, with their 2nd pick in the 7th round and their last pick, the New York Giants select JaQuinton Jackson, running back of Arkansas. JaQuinton Jackson, a power back that they need to complement Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. He's a 6'2", 235-pound power back, excellent short yardage runner, breaks tackles all the time, falls forward, exactly what we need to give the aforementioned Tracy and Singletary a breather. I don't think he'll ever be a starter, but this is a strong running back class, good depth, and I think he'll drop in this draft. Number one, because he's new to the position. He was a quarterback in high school, and he actually went to University of Texas as a quarterback, and then transferred to Utah as a running back, and then later transferred again as a running back to Arkansas. Again, power back, big back, pretty good vision considering he's new to the position, kind of like Tyrone Tracy, who made the switch from wide receiver to running back. Yeah, I think Jackson, he'll be a help right away in short yardage, goal line. His weaknesses are obviously he's new to the position. He doesn't have breakaway speed and not much of a pass receiver. So as a former quarterback, I'm assuming he'll have good hands and that he'll have to be coached up on that. His pass blocking, surprisingly, is pretty well. It is not bad at all. Obviously, he needs to know more of the nuances as a pro. But, and he certainly has the size at 6'2" and 235. Be nice to have a big back to put on the roster. Also, as a former quarterback, I think he'll give some wrinkles where the Giants can put him in on extra points and maybe goal line, have him do some wildcat and some goal line quarterback, because like they did with Barkley a couple of years ago, where Barkley would take the snap from center. he could do that, and he's a left-handed quarterback, so it could even more trickery and some unexpectedness having him on the roster. So they rounded out with Ja'Quinden Jackson of Arkansas as their last pick. I think this would be an excellent crop for the Giants to have. Here's what it looks like. 8 new players. The Giants may get 9. They may get an additional compensatory pick. We'll find that out next month. I'll have another mock draft in a couple of weeks as ratings go up and down on a lot of the players. Some players move up, some players move down for the aforementioned reasons. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already, Giants fans. Let's go ahead. Come on, Giants. Keep doing it. Let's win the off season since we were so horrible during the regular season. So thank you, everybody. Let's go, Giants.